Hello, welcome to Discourse 8 of the Philosophic Integration Series, June 2020. So, Discourse 8, the theme being Sanctums. I said at the beginning of this 2020 sharing that I would differentiate between sanctuaries and sanctums and give some insights into the differences and the importance of creating a sanctum on your spiritual path. I've spoke a lot about the value of healing, receiving love from the star beings, opening up to the grace, and creating powerful conditions in the earth plane to support the continued deepening of your spiritual practice. I said in the last discourse that philosophical integration and contemplation of your life, it's work, it takes years and years. The more years you have in a human form in good conditions to integrate and totally understand the spiritual experiences of your life, the more conducive this is for your spiritual path. Every single year you have physically incarnated in good shape, able to dedicate yourself to advanced spiritual practices without distractions, without trouble, in very powerful and good conditions, whilst being healthy and powerful in a body is a boost. You need all the time that you can get, and the more time you have in good conditions without having to deal with trouble from the outer, then the greater the progress that you will make will be. It's important that all the mystical experiences you have, all the astral journeys into the other realms, and all the experiences of love from star beings in your contact with this otherworldly alien energy that's helping you to ascend, it's very important to allow yourself the time and space to properly give that phenomena the attention it deserves. Once your spiritual practice reaches a certain point, it will become very important to you, and ultimately it will be the only thing that is in your life, along with the remaining supportive conditions. So obviously if you have a huge disruption to that, that is going to generate a lot of trouble and cause you a setback. It then might take a few months or years even to recorrect the position that you are originally in. So you can't keep having that on the path. You've got to protect yourself, and the way you do that in this reality is you create a sanctum in the outer. Now, a sanctum means a place of sanctuary or refuge from which most people or most energies are excluded. It's very important to understand this point, because the other word that you come across far more often is a sanctuary. There's many spiritual sanctuaries as opposed to sanctums, and these sanctuaries, many people can go there for healing, and the sanctuary is far more open to far more people and far more energies, and depending on the purpose of that particular sanctuary, that might be okay. But for an ascending being, you don't want to have a sanctuary is open willy-nilly to all kinds of people. So you have to be a lot more selective in your energy. So when you learn the lessons of discernment in the outer and only having a few chords with other people in your soul group. You're doing the inner work for creating the outer conditions for building this sanctum or monastery or a semi-monastic retreat center, so to speak, that you want to create. It's very important to realize there's a problem if you don't focus on creating a sanctum. If instead you go the sanctuary route and you're too open, what happens is people will come and consciously or unconsciously they'll come with grey or black stones, and the pile of the white stones that you have will become depleted and be swapped out for the many grey or black stones that come in. You can only avoid that if you do energy exchanges with members of your soul group, and also for a lot of the time your sanctum also has to be closed to outsiders to also balance out the energy and to ensure that you can also progress on your spiritual path. You know, when you're creating a sanctum in your spiritual practice, in your outer life, you're going to be asking yourself and reflecting upon the kind of energy exchanges that you're doing and the kind of people that you're interacting with to make sure it's sustaining and you don't inherit any black stones of karma unnecessarily. If both people in the exchange are aligned to the intention, that doesn't happen. But the many retreat centers where hundreds and hundreds of people come over many years experience a very common yet misunderstood phenomena about a financial wipeout or a cataclysmic event. You know, quite often these places either burn down or get wiped out in a hurricane, there's a flood or there's some other disaster, or the business itself fails, and no matter what phenomena is the collapsing force, the cause for that is the depletion of white stones in the owner of the retreat center in question, because they need a certain amount of white stones to hold the power, to hold the energy, and those that rush to open retreats and open their doors to everyone, say, oh, come here, it's a sanctuary, come here. I've seen this happen in so many retreat centers. It's no longer sanctuary, it's just a place where people come and bring a lot of black stones or grey stones. They release a lot of stuff. At the same time, there's not like a respectful balance of energy there, or there's just an overload of energy coming in from the outer that overwhelms the inner, and then that sanctuary isn't a sanctuary anymore and the whole thing collapses. So there's many spiritual retreat centers in their enterprises going through that story, playing out in many different situations, and that's something you don't have to go into. And fortunately, I had the fortune to witness those dynamics playing out in other people that I knew in my life, so I didn't go and make the same mistake. So I released this whole idea of Ascension Center for Humanity or Big Sanctuary, and instead decided to go for the Sanctum route. And the Sanctum route, as I said, is excluding almost everyone save for a few people that are aligned to doing a spiritual work. You know, when you've attained such a high level of vibration, when you've done so much of the earthly work, the truth, the metaphysical truth, you can't share this benefit with everyone. In most situations, you have to shut up and have nothing to do with the outer world. There'll only be a very few instances where you can open yourself and allow other people into your energy. You have to get that right, you have to manage it. Otherwise, you're going to have a big setback on the spiritual path. And to use the arc analogy, you're going to have a puncture in the hull of your boat and you're going to start leaking water, and then all the other energies of the outer world that aren't so aligned to the spiritual ascension path can then get a hook in your energy in the astral, and then you can run into a lot of trouble. So the sanctum model is kind of the last step on the journey that's kind of just about visible to the conventional humanity. Beyond that, you have immortal masters sitting out in caves or meditating up in the Himalayas, and you have no idea where they are, and if you went to look for them, the chances are you'd never find them. They're there, but they're protected. They've got like a super sanctum, so to speak, because they've reached such a high grade of awareness, either immortal and doing some particular important work on the planet, or they're on the cusp of becoming immortal, and they've had to totally and utterly remove themselves from the energy of the human race. So you can see like a graduation of progression that happens on this path of building up energy and going further and further on the path of spiritual physical ascension. It naturally involves removing your energy more and more from the outer, because a lot of people in the outer, they don't care about this path, they don't give it the same seriousness, and there becomes so many incompatibilities and imbalances in energy. You cannot afford to keep being caught up in that energetically, or you'll never be able to hold your energy and maintain the power of your own spiritual practice. You have to have the right conditions in your life on this planet, in this time, for the deepening of your spiritual practice. You may not think so, but as you get older, you'll start to realize more and more. If you don't have your house, your retreat center, and all the things you need around you, you will not be able to attain the higher grades, and you'll be very impeded. And having said that, once you've also manifested all that, if you then allow the wrong people in, also you're going to like start to leak the energy of your manifestation, and if you do it enough, ultimately your manifestation will collapse. And this is the phenomena as to why so many retreat centers go down the tubes, or after many people have been coming and the land isn't cleared properly of the energy release there, particularly with ayahuasca, then there tends to be like natural catastrophes like fires, floods, or rock slides that kind of like wipes out the whole thing, and it's like a redo from start. If you have the proper sanctum, you don't have to do that redo from start, because sanctum by its very nature is refuge. You want refuge from karma, it has to be a perfect and strong refuge, and it can't let any other trouble in. So this is what I mean by creating a sanctum. Not everyone can do it right away, because first they have to resolve their karma with the world, whatever earthly experiences they've got to have. They need to have them to purify their karma enough in order to be able to receive the grace, so that they then are in the position to withdraw from the world and spend many years in spiritual practice, free from the need to work. So that's the concept of a sanctum explained, and you can also reflect upon that in your own practice if you have a retreat center or you're in the process of creating one. Take on board what I've said and also reflect on some of the experiences I've had in my life with other retreat centers and some of the events I've seen happen in the outer. Do reflect upon all of that and take that on board when creating your own sanctum for deepening your own spiritual practice. So that's all for now, and I will be speaking to you in Discourse 9, Free Spirit Dance.